Hello, everyone. Welcome to TV Book Club Evangelion episodes 21 and 22. I'm your host, David, and I'm joined here, as always, by Josh.
Can I tell you something about NERV?
Uh,
How
yes.
have you heard about NERV
Nerve.
and its birth? Have you also heard about Sele?
So according to this is the first time I've ever noticed this, so I don't know if it's Fuyutsuki or if it's just something I've been too dumb to catch up on. But in the English dub on Netflix, they do not pronounce it Sele, it's Zile.
Yep,
So
it's up. I don't care.
I know,
I
I just
literally
like,
have
wait
sat
a
there. I'm
minute,
like,
have I been mispronouncing this for
no,
10 episodes?
I think there's no like. It's sort of it. They're like it's sort of like Chrissy Teigen's name, in which is just like I think her actual name is Chrissy Teigen, but people have just made it Chrissy Teigen, so I think it just goes like one of those things. In which there's no right answer after a while. It's just what everyone says.
Evangelion.
Well, that's that's wrong.
They have been consistently pronouncing
Shinji,
that, yes.
Shinji and Rei
Yeah, Ray's
and
too hard to mispronounce. It's 3 letters.
Asuka.
It's easy.
There you go.
Um,
Misato.
but yeah, let's be depressed and talk about these episodes because these were fucking rough to get through, and also they're long. Is this a re-release thing, or were these 2 episodes always longer than every other episode? Because they're both about half an hour long instead of
These are the
24 minutes.
no, these are the real ones.
Okay.
This is a thing that this will start going forward. Just be like long episodes.
Oh, the rest of them on Netflix are all like 24 minutes instead of
They
28,
feel
29.
longer.
Well, yeah, because they're dry. These episodes were so dry.
Yeah.
And rewatching it to take notes, Asuka's episode, the second one, which we'll get to, is really good. It's just it's very
not a fun episode.
It's very similar to Shinji's episode, except yeah, way less fun and more emotionally wrought.
Yeah, and it also, I think for me, puts that character more in perspective, but it's something that I wish it made me feel like I didn't wish for this to happen to her. Like it didn't need to happen to her.
Oh God, no.
No.
I mean, it feels
And
like,
it kind of just it very much solidifies like her character.
it feels like a natural conclusion for this character. It's just I did not want this to happen. I completely understand why this happened, how it happened, but man, this fucking sucks.
Yeah.
Because I'm
It
pretty.
is.
We'll get there. Let's just start with
Yeah.
episode 21, which is honestly kind of a really boring episode, but just fills in so much backstory. It's super important. So
I'm gonna be honest with you. This episode really prepares you for the last couple of this is the beginning of the last ride, and this stuff really just solidifies how the rest of the series is gonna go.
except there is one part that we'll talk about that I did not understand and really confused me. Anyway,
Okay,
so
we'll talk about it.
episode 21, the birth of NERV, / he was aware that he was still a child. So this episode opens with like security camera footage from the Arctic research base the day of the second impact, where it seems like the reason the second impact occurred is they're doing experiments on Adam, so they clearly had found Adam before any of this went down, and they said they introduced human DNA into Adam, and that's when everything explodes.
Yep.
So then we cut to the present day, where Kaji has kidnapped, quote unquote kidnapped. They show it later that like he's like, you got to come with me, and they just go together. But Fuyutsuki, whose name I now remember thanks to this episode.
Fuyutsuki, a character you only see bits and pieces of, gets an entire episode dedicated to him.
Yes, to be interrogated by Zile. So and this is like, there's a lot of stuff revealed in this episode. Like, so Zile is the secret, basically rulers of the world.
it basically, like I told you, like I think early on, it was just like Sele controls everything even more than the Magi, and then it's just like NERV is beneath them in
Yeah.
like power.
So Gendo's still kind of not operating outside of Sele too.
He he has like a skunk works thing,
Yeah.
and
He
they
has a
let his skunk
plan.
works thing just roll, and then until they realize there's something going on here.
So we then cut back to before the second impact, back when Fuyutsuki was just a college professor, and he meets, and we also meet for the first time, really, Yui Ikari. We also find out that Gendo took her last name instead, because his original last name was Rokubungi.
And Gendo, younger Gendo, looks like a creep.
He's still a fucking
Looks
creep.
like a
He
looks
still
like a
has those
dirtbag.
those. It's his eyes. He has such like intense, haunting eyes.
Yeah, but I also think it's like I think that in combination of just like his skin color, just on top of that, just makes him even more sinister, which I kind of issue with. But it's one of those things. Just like he, even the young, but even younger Gendo looks like a weird, like he looks like a inverse dimension version of Shinji, like without the sadness and just full of rage.
I'm in the middle of playing Deadly Premonition, and I'm pretty sure they modeled the Gravekeeper after young Gendo.
I see. Um,
uh, so we're jumping around. We're going chronologically, but we start jumping around in time, because then we see Fuyutsuki joins an expedition into the Arctic a year after the second impact, and that's
and that's
like
when he.
we see
That's
what the world's like after the second impact.
pure
E-
hell, in his own words.
Everyone's living in boats because everything's
It's a
flooded.
perpetual summer.
Yes,
There is no winter. There is no spring.
it's
There
just
is no
hot.
fall. It is
Oh,
bug
here,
hot
I'll
summer.
let me look it up. What the temperature was: 30 Celsius to Fahrenheit. Oh, it's only 86 degrees, but that's still very warm for a lot of
That's
the
too
world.
hot.
Yeah. We're both from Florida. It's normal. But we escaped because it sucks.
Hey man, it's currently like 80 degrees on there. It's fine.
Yeah.
Gendo mysteriously also shows up in this thing. I think something that you didn't really touch on like early on of just Yui also is considering being a mom over doing any more research.
Yes. She
That's
like
another thing
jokes
that
about they're talking about her future, and she jokes about, well, there's another option you haven't even mentioned, and it's if I give all this up and just become a mom.
which is I anyway. That that's an option too, but I think Gendo's motives seem very much like, especially with like Yui at this moment, it just seems like he is trying to get to Sele any way he can, and I think he thinks this is the best way he can for some weird reason.
Yeah. Um. So we also find out that Misato has been kept under observation because she's the only survivor of the research thing at the Arctic base where the second impact occurred. Though we find out, so Gendo was part of Sele at that point. He was supposed to be at the Arctic base, but left right before the second impact, and left with all of their research documents. So he knew everything was going to go boom.
There's also the part where he's like, "Yo, me and Yui have a kid. Here you go. Here's a card."
Yes, I'm married now. Oh yeah, and he's like, here's my card. And he's like, you haven't heard of business cards? Because he hands him a postcard.
And what's on the postcard?
His name. It was
There's
weird.
also he also gets something from Yui, and it's a drawing of a blue-haired angel.
Yeah.
Like Misato's also a part of this because I think they like cut back and forth between like the present and the past, in which she is also being interrogated because of how close she is to Kaji.
Yes. Though her interrogation is very. I mean, both of them are pretty uneventful.
Yeah.
So Fuyutsuki joins Seilei because he has to know the secrets behind the second impact. We see this was very unexpected to me because then we jump forward again and we see Fuyutsuki meeting Naoko, Ritsuko's mom. We also find out that Ritsuko is not a natural blonde, that she dyes her hair
Nope. Yep.
because we see her as like a teenager. And this is what really confused me because throughout this episode, and maybe it's just because we're seeing this both from Fuyutsuki and then from Naoko's perspectives, she seems to have a good relationship with her mom. Like they hinted like her childhood maybe wasn't that great because she was so
Yeah.
obsessed with her research, but they seem to have a good relationship. And when we had the Ritsuko episode, it seemed like they had a horrible relationship. So I really don't understand that dichotomy.
Um, it could possibly do with
What happens at
the
the end?
Ray incident.
Yeah, what happens at the end of the episode, which I was also like,
Yeah. But there's also something I don't know if it. I don't know if that gets implied later. Hold on. Uh, I'm gonna save this because I don't know
okay.
exactly if this gets like brought
So
up in some type of fashion.
so then we have a reoccurring theme showing up that's where Yui agrees to be a test subject for Seilei. And we see this reoccurring theme of the parents or it's the mothers of Ava pilots agreeing to be test subjects in the development of the Ava process and then, dying awfully.
Who? Whoa, whoa, whoa! But there's also the thing of remember earlier when like Gendo was accused of murdering Shinji's mom.
Yes.
Like it's very weird that it's like it was a freak accident that happened, and it seems like freak accidents seem to happen a lot at NERV for some weird reason.
Yes. Also, they don't tell you what happens, but through context clues, we can piece together that yes, she was absorbed into the Ava and never came out. I
Yeah,
think. I mean, I could be wrong, but that's what the episode everything we've seen seems to be indicating.
yeah,
Oh,
and also Shinji's there the day that the freak accident happens, and it's weird that he doesn't remember that.
I bet it's a repressed memory.
And that's the weird thing about it. There's also the affair.
Yeah, Naoko's in love with Gendo, and she says that she wished Yui would disappear right before the accident happened. I mean, obviously they're not related, but she feels guilty
No,
because of that. And yeah, they're
yeah, but
having
then
like
she starts.
an affair. Or
Yes.
I guess it's not an affair because his wife is dead. I don't know.
Well, it affair. Yeah, they're doing stuff.
They're doing. We only see them kiss too, and it's super awkward. And Ritsuko sees it too, which makes her relationship with Gendo even weirder. I mean,
Yeah,
all of his relationships with everyone are fucking weird because he's a creepy monster. But
he's a creepy dirtbag.
so then we get the hint, which makes a lot, which really put things in perspective to me. Um, so Ray is definitely uh, not a normal human being. Obviously, um, she seems to be a clone of UA, right?
Mm,
Something like
kind
that. Some sort of
something.
weird hybrid. Because Naoko says that Ray looks like a mini Yui, but with like blue hair instead.
Yeah, like this episode really just makes it seem that Ray's a weirdo.
Well,
Ray is
Ray is
something.
clearly a some sort of manufactured human being through some process because so Naoko goes to look up because Gendo just shows up one day with a child and
Hello,
Naoko's
here is my child.
wait, your son? He's like, no, this
He
is a
has,
girl. And he's like, yeah, I'm watching my friend's daughter. And he's like, wait, what friends? You don't have friends. Who are you talking about? And
what are you talking about?
why can I find no information about Rei Ayanami anywhere. Then we cut to
Why are you looking her up? Why are you creeping? This
yeah,
doesn't involve you.
we cut to her finishing the Magi systems, and then we cut to again just Ray hanging out talking to Naoko, and we find out that Gendo calls her an old hag behind her back.
Doesn't really like her.
Does not like her at all, and
Does not fucks with.
she has a breakdown and strangles Ray to death. Which
Yeah.
again, Ray is not dead, so clearly
Well, and then there's like the mysterious accident in which Nanako with the breakdown also was like, you know what? I'm gonna throw myself off in the old bay. I'm just gonna throw myself off here. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna throw myself off this high ledge. And then she's dead as well.
She is also
Weird.
dead. And then we cut Misato is let go and released from interrogation. Kaji is supposed to meet up with someone and is murdered.
Yeah, but he kind of knows that this is happening.
He does, because he leaves Misato a message knowing it'll be his last. Like, he says goodbye. Because he even says, like, I never said goodbye before, and I'm sorry about that. Goodbye.
And yeah, but this is kind of Kaji. Kaji did his role, but he's sort of like, he's not necessary anymore.
No.
Even for like Gendo's plans and everything else, he's not necessary.
He's also ready to go.
Yeah. Like he played his thing, he's ready to go. He sung his last song. His watermelons are pretty good. But yeah. And it's weird because this is like the first instance that we see like modern Shinji, and he just sees Misato crying and just walks away and tries to block it out because his strong mother figure is out having a breakdown.
Everyone's having a breakdown. The rest of this show is about mental breakdowns.
Yeah.
And the cruelty of man, I imagine.
The cruelty of man.
So then we go to episode 22, Staying Human / Don't Be, with a period. Specifically, the second title for this episode ends in a period, and that is unusual.
Yeah.
So this is...
Oh, you want to go to space?
This is another Asuka episode. Where
it opens in a weird way.
It opens with a flashback before Asuka's brought to Japan of her and Kaji hanging out. And she's basically, in certain ways, confessing that she loves him. And he's like, you're a child. And she's like, I'm not a child.
I am a real woman.
I am a real woman.
Look at me.
Yeah.
I am adult.
So then this is another part, as I was talking about just a moment ago. So it seems like after building the Avas, they were testing out ways to connect the human mind into the Ava, and Asuka's mom was part of those initial experiments, and when they connected her mind to the Ava, it broke her.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. And her synchro rate has also
been dropping
like
dramatically.
Every episode it's just getting worse and worse and worse. And it's just her traumas are coming out, which is fine. Like, everyone has their own traumas and everything.
Yeah, because her mom committed suicide and her dad moved on at the funeral, which is super gross and creepy.
Yeah.
We find out that they only have enough resources at the moment to repair Unit 2 or Unit 0 at one time. And since Asuka's sync rate is dropping, they're prioritizing Unit 0. Also, Sele has begun construction on Ava Units 7 through 13 around the world.
Yep. without NERV's permission,
Yeah.
because NERV runs the Ava project.
Yes.
Why are
Also,
they building so many Avas? What do you mean? Why
end
would you need so
times.
many Avas?
End
End times
times.
for who?
Everyone. It's
Um,
because, well, Josh, you know the answer. Why are you asking me? It's because it was written in the Dead Sea Scrolls.
it was all right in the Dead Sea Scrolls.
Come on, man.
Sorry.
Asuka keeps trying to call Kaji, but her calls aren't going through because he's dead. She doesn't know that though. And we also,
Nope.
yeah, she has a deep, deep resentment for Shinji and Rei. Oh, we
Why
also
are they
find out
friends?
Shinji was absorbed into the Ava for a full month.
Yeah.
That was not clear in that episode. It seemed like days at best, but no, it was an entire month.
Hey, no angel attacks. I don't see what the issue is here.
I guess, yeah. Asuka receives a call from Germany from her stepmother, and we see her
Probably in
speaking
Germany.
German.
Yep. And then she goes off into a room.
Well, she goes to like take a bath, and she hates Shinji and Misato as well, and she's like, I don't want to bathe in the bath water that they use. I don't want to wash my clothes in the washing machine they used. I don't want to use a toilet that they sat on.
I have to ask a very serious question. How do you feel about the elevator scene?
The silent elevator scene until
Yes.
she just screams at Rei. I mean, it's really well done.
Yeah.
It's a moment where I sat there knowing both how they make shows and then also appreciating the dramatic. Like I really appreciated it for the effect it gave, but also I'm like, wow, this is a good way to save some money for animation later.
Yeah.
To just
It's that scene is a very that's usually the scene I ask people about if they watch Ava. Like it's a very direct scene of just like I feel like that scene encapsulates the entire series in which it's just like a shot, two people not saying a single word, but you feel the tension and you feel the way that the camera moves around, and especially just like the reaction and everything.
if if
Just really, that's Evangelion.
pretty much if this was well, actually, if this was a more classic cartoon, there would have been more movement because the only movement in that whole shot is just us like them blinking. So I'm not like resentful or I don't really care that it's basically still. I'm glad they didn't have the blinking, I would be more upset or I would be upset because then it's like you just gave me a still shot. But
Yeah.
it's so effective. It's great because then the elevator doors open and Asuka just starts shouting at Rei. She calls her a doll, which Rei like really doesn't like.
Nope, because
Eh,
I think Ray episode 2 or 3 would have been like whatever, but this Ray, who is slowly over the series been gaining more confidence and actual emotions, is not having it.
But she also is like, if Gendo said to kill yourself, you do it. She's like, yeah, I would. But yeah,
Yeah,
Asuka just screams that she hates her to her face and that she hates everyone. And then the elevator doors close, and then an angel
and
shows
then
up.
an angel attacks.
It reminds me of the Thunderbird, like from like mythology and shit. It's just this
Yeah, to me,
giant.
it just reminded me of like a Zapdos, but just like a full energy Zapdos,
Yes, I mean yes. It does.
but
It
also it's
has
in
that.
space.
Yeah, it has that kind of like jagged lightning outline like a Zapdos does.
Yeah,
Yeah, Space Bird.
Space Bird,
So
which
Asuka,
doesn't have any like. There's no missiles. There's no like stringy things. There's no cutting. There's no anything. It is just a beam.
yeah. Oh, so yeah, so Asuka charges ahead and launches Unit 2, uh, disregarding her orders. And basically, Misato and Ritsuko are like, okay, we'll let her do it. This is it. Like, if she fucks this up, she's done forever.
Yeah, that's listen. Sync rates are very important to everyone.
They are very important. We're at the end times, Josh. So the angel is out of range for all of Nerve's weapons, but it hits Asuka with this beam, which is basically just like this ray of light that
It's like an inverse OTT field.
it yeah, it's a psychological distress ray, basically.
Yeah.
And she just starts freaking out, and just the animation of like the Ava convulsing as she's like panicking and her mind is racing is so creepy and well done. I love how just
Eh,
spindly and like skinny the Avas are, and like how weirdly
yeah.
because they have basically the same proportions, at least height wise, except like around the shoulders as the human characters do, but they're just like so
Hmm.
thin for giant mechs. It's really
Yeah.
creepy. Uh,
But the thing about it is, the Psycho Beam is also one of those things of it is ironically, I think Ritsuko says this of the it's not trying to like mess with her head like in that way. It's just trying to learn about her.
yes, it's like analyzing the human mind.
Yeah, but specifically Asuka's mind, which is kind of usually hidden and not like out there because she has the very like tough exterior, but like her mind's a mess. And there are some things in her mind that is just like it repeats. Like I think it does like the repeating of like some of the scenes from earlier.
We're gonna get there
Yeah.
too. So okay, so they load Ray up with that cannon from when they took out the upside down pyramid angel, right? Is that same like?
Yes. Same
Okay,
gun.
yeah. Oh, we did forget to mention when it hits her with the beam and Asuka freaks out. She has like a pulse rifle or whatever, and she like unloads all of her ammo, but as she's freaking out, starts missing and blows up chunks of Tokyo 3.
Yeah.
Not super important, but it was cool, so I wanted to mention it. Anyway,
Gotcha.
so Ray's cannon fails as well because it's just too far away, and then we see so. This is vague, so this is what I took from this episode. But Asuka's mom, so after the experiment, she commits suicide, but she also tried to take Asuka with her.
Yes.
But in her unhinged state, she keeps confusing Asuka with this doll. So we don't ever see her mom's like feet dangling, but we see the doll hanging from a noose. And it's implied that
And
that she hung the both of them at the same time.
um no, I didn't get that. I got mostly she didn't hang the doll. She just hung herself, but I think it's kind of weird. Like Asuka, I think Asuka witnessed walked in her dead mom.
It's
And it's sort of just like since she gets compared to a doll the entire time, so I think her psyche just broke.
See, because I was definitely getting the impression that Asuka's mom wanted to kill both of them, like wanted, but
No, no,
like
she did.
yeah,
I
and
think she did, but I think it was one of those things where it's just
yeah, because
I think that on top of things just made it so that okay, so her mom
Asuka,
wanted to kill them both.
yeah,
Obviously, her mom didn't go through with it,
she just
but
killed
I think
herself,
her mom
yeah,
was very vocal about being like, "No, we're doing this together. We're doing this together." And it's sort of
and
just
she's
like,
rejecting it, and then as she has a full breakdown at the end of the episode in her memories, she's like accepting it. She's like wishing she died with her mom.
yeah. But but that also goes with her mom did it. Like it goes into like I think this is like the hard part about it, which is why this episode's kind of tough. It also goes into Asuka's very character of always being the best, and she wasn't good enough to get killed with her mom.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So then we have another one of those repeating scenes, which are always great, where Asuka sees herself. It's just like a couple of lines here and there, including that weird. We didn't fully mention it, but in that scene where she's like, "I'm an adult," Takagi at the beginning, she like pulls her shirt down to like expose her bra, basically say like, "Look at me, I'm a woman."
yeah,
And that's one of the scenes, but her vocal performance is changing each time, and it seems like the angel is like, here's some defining moments about who you are, and Asuka's mind is rejecting that, and it's like, well, let's change the performance, and she's like, no, 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 these moments don't define who I am, even though they are actually like they are, like she's rejecting her own personality essentially.
yep.
Then we get like another like dream like sequence where she's walking backwards through a train yard and gets caught up in a sea of cloaked figures.
Mm-hmm.
Back in reality, Gendo refuses to let Shinji take out Unit 1 for fear of psychological contamination. Also, Unit 1 is still grounded after eating the S2 engine because that was not supposed to happen. But
No, because now it can just run without power.
yes, but he permits so that they have to destroy this angel. So Gendo says, "Use the spear of Longinus to
Longinus.
whatever, man."
No, I just like saying
I
Longinus.
know. To take the angel out. Ritsuko is worried that contact between Adam and the angel could cause the third impact, but he doesn't agree. So we get the aside from Misato. Well, if that didn't cause the second impact, what did exactly? Um,
Yeah.
and Gendo and Fuyutsuki are talking. He's like, work has to be done before Seilei's final plans are put into motion. Now that the Avas are being built, so they're going to be pissed. We used the spear, but what other choice do we have? And when Ray goes to remove the spear, Adam's legs grow back in a super creepy. So like his lower torso is composed of like these tiny. If you've played the game Inside, it's a lot like the flesh ball at the end with just all the limbs. And
Yeah.
basically, like more limbs spread out and merge together until it makes legs, and it's really creepy and gross. And seeing that, I'm like, is that how they make Avas, Josh? Or are they just like regrowing parts of Adam to then cut off and make into Avas?
That is never told and never said.
But maybe it seems like an explanation.
Possibly. I think you could read it up, but it's one of those things where it's sort of like, yeah, it's kind
Yeah.
of different.
So Ray uses the spear. It obliterates in a really cool sequence. It just obliterates the angel. Like it just
Yep.
blasts through it and it
The
explodes.
spear is one of my favorite weapons because it's sort of just like, I don't know, it looks like a spear and it always like it's gross.
Also, it doesn't look like a spear. It looks like a giant tuning fork
Yes.
because it's two
Also,
pronged. Oh, and
it's also in space.
when it hits the AT field outside the angel, it like expands and grows like these creepy. It looks like the underside of mushrooms, the like ribbing or whatever, and like
Yeah.
speeds up and yeah, blows through the angel and is now stuck in lunar orbit because they have no way to retrieve it at this point. And
Yep.
Asuka has a full emotional breakdown.
And does not get consoled for anything and is pretty much donezo.
Yep, I was like, pretty sure Asuka's done for like done being a functional team member. I know she'll have her story's not over, but she's done as an Ava pilot essentially.
Yeah. She is donezo.
It was real brutal episode.
Yeah. That's it's a real bummer to go out on, to be very honest with you. It's a real just like, hey, there are only 4 episodes left and it's only like downhill from here.
Yeah, there is no positivity in the rest of this show, I imagine.
No.
It's just sadness and depression and bleak shit.
Yeah.
We're so close to the end. I mean, then we have to
You're
watch the rebuilds and then wait for the fourth one, but
you're gonna have fun with the next 2 episodes. By that I mean you're not gonna have fun with the next two
just
episodes. They're
just just
not fun.
just a
I'm
lot
just
of
putting
dear
that.
God, why?
It's a lot of you didn't have to do this.
Well, our next episode is Ray 3. So,
Yep.
also the episode titles are getting longer.
It's also named AKA Tears.
Yes. Except for this one, yeah, it's like Tears and Ray 3 and then after that it's like, oh, one of the titles is like a sentence for all of these episodes. So yeah, so we will be back next time. with episodes 23 and 24. We are so close. I am so glad we did this, even though it is so bleak and depressing. Every time. Yeah.
All right.
All
Bye.
right. So bye everyone. We'll be back with more with more depression talk.
Bye.